Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable.
Revolution.
First, what is a revolution?
Revolution is the solution, hey.
The motive of a revolution.
Well, now,
The objective of a revolution.
be televised.
And the result of a revolution. And the methods used in a revolution.
I know you know. Put my gun away. Never gonna put my gun away. Put my gun away. See that might be better run away.
This generation of Americans has already had enough, more than enough, of war and hate and oppression.
Hello, Internet. Hope everyone's having a fantastic Sunday evening. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, a lot of things going on in the world, and I'm going to try and stay in my lane tonight. I'm going to try and stay in my California politics lane because there's plenty of those stories to talk about. In fact, too many things going on in California to talk about anything else. I know we got the whole Trump Marjorie Taylor Greene situation, which we talked about a little last week, but she's resigning. Apparently, there's the whole Candace Owens thing going on. There's a lot. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but I want to try and stay in my lane, which is California politics, California corruption, and there is no shortage of it this evening or this week or this day or year or minute or any other time. There is never a shortage of California corruption. And there's a couple of scandals going on right now that we're going to talk about. Cover-ups, blackmail, potentially. And we're going to get into all of it. And some Eric Swalwell's running for office. Aren't you guys excited? I don't see him having a chance, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about how corrupt he is, too, and how he has no other experience other than a career politician. So if you guys are here, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave a comment in the chat. Symbolic T, Danger, nice to see you guys. She's resigning a millionaire. Yeah, she is. She certainly is. Wasn't she rich before she got into office, though? I don't know. I'm not even going to get into it. Not even going to get into the Marjorie Taylor Greene stuff tonight. Yeah, I'm going to leave it alone. Don't get me distracted, Lonnie. Don't get me distracted. And let me know if my audio is working well. I'm pretty sure it is, but my screen on my Rodecaster just decided to not work anymore. So that's wonderful. All right. So we're going to start off with some Rob Bonta news. So as we talked about last week, or maybe the week before, I brought up the California, Gavin Newsom's chief of staff getting indicted, and how I think that may have something to do with Shang Tao in Oakland, her getting indicted, and then rolling over on other people. And maybe people are just throwing each other under the bus to the FBI. I don't know if that's what's going on, but some news about Rob Bonta came out, and it's quite interesting. It's very interesting, actually. So we're going to go over to Wall Street Apes here. Let's see. So it appears that, I don't know how else to read this, but it appears Rob Bonta has been blackmailed, just like Epstein did. Got some dirt on Rob Bonta, held it over his head. And this is the Duongs. I believe that I'm pronouncing that right. And they are the people that ran the sanitation company that got contracts, no-bid contracts from Shang Tao about recycling and garbage and all that stuff. And they're the ones that were indicted for corruption by the FBI along with Shang Tao. And it seems that one of these guys, one of the Duongs, was sort of a little mini Epstein. And he had his house, I don't know if he had his house wired for audio and video, but he would get people in compromising positions with females, sometimes allegedly underage females, and get highly influential people in positions with those females, document it, and then hold it over their head. Does it sound familiar? Does that sound familiar at all? So that appears to be what happened here with Rob Bonta. So let's watch this quick clip. This is from AB7 Eyewitness News. And I got a few Rob Bonta clips, and Ashley Zavala got an interview with him today. We got some clips from that as well. So this whole situation it's another scandal. It is another California scandal. Aren't you guys shocked? All right, let's play this quick clip.
A defendant in the bribery and corruption case surrounding former Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao allegedly took a secret, compromising video of California Attorney General Rob Bonta. That is just one of the explosive accusations in a letter obtained by the ABC 7 News I-team that appears to have sped up the FBI investigation. Good evening, I'm Amma Dates.
I'm Dan Ashley. Thanks for joining us here. The I-team's Dan Noyes is investigating all of this.
I'm sorry, but her name is Amadeus. It's like the song. Amadeus, Amadeus. Amadeus, Amadeus. Okay, I apologize. I won't do that again.
It is here with the latest. Dan.
Well, Dan and Amma, this letter may also help to explain why the Attorney General spent $468,000 of campaign contributions on legal fees to help him deal with FBI investigators. I want to emphasize that Rob Bonta has not been charged in this case, and there's no indication he is a suspect.
So just really quick, the Attorney General of California spent $500,000 of his own campaign money to defend the guys that got indicted with Sheng Tao as co-conspirators. What? He's the prosecutor guy that's supposed to be prosecuting criminals, but he's using $500,000 of his own campaign funds to defend them? What's going on here?
In the letter dated May 9th, 2024, to Attorney General Rob Bonta, Mario Juarez writes about his business partners from Oakland-based California Waste Solutions. I have firsthand knowledge of various criminal activities perpetrated by the DeWong family, including money laundering, illegal political donations, falsification of contracts, and exploitation of straw donors. These activities extend to facilitating prostitution for elected officials, including minors.
Rob Bonta, attorney.
Does that sound familiar at all? It's hilarious. He's a Epstein. He's a Diddy. Can't say Diddy, I guess, was facilitating prostitution. But, I mean, this is exactly what Epstein was doing. He's just, this DeWong guy is just doing it on the California local level. Incredible.
In general, knew far more of what was going on in this investigation with the DeWongs than any of us knew.
Stephen Tavares runs the political Substack East Bay Insiders. He first broke news of the Juarez letter, and I obtained it from another source.
The letter shows that Mario was despondent and that he was basically going to get back retribution against the DeWongs.
Mario Juarez was partners with David and Annie DeWong in Evolutionary Homes, a company that converted shipping containers to housing for the homeless. But Juarez writes that on May 3rd, 2024, the DeWongs locked him out of the showroom on the Oakland waterfront and that they ordered an attack by a group of armed men. Quote, I was threatened with firearms and a knife, assaulted and robbed the personal belongings, including a gold chain and Rolex watch. The I-team obtained these photos showing Juarez's injuries, his swollen face and head. He goes on to say he was coerced into delivering an apology to David DeWong, while Andy and Christina DeWong recorded the interaction. Then, just 1 month later,
and he starts shooting back, like firing back. Pa, 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 pa.
Juarez got into a shootout with men who broke into his SUV. Tavares believes it's no coincidence that just days later, the FBI raided the homes of David and Andy DeWong and of then Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao and her partner, Andre Jones.
So these are the types of people that Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao is getting into bed with, is giving no bid contracts for recycling services. And then they also ran a homeless industrial complex scam where they converted, storage units into tiny homes for the homeless. Like it's all this giant money racket, like every single other thing that the California government does. These are the types of people that they're getting involved with.
11 days later, the raids happen. It strongly suggests that the FBI had found Mario Juarez, made him the star witness. When this got out that he was cooperating, they moved quick.
Some of what Mario Juarez wrote in that letter appears in the federal bribery and corruption indictment. His name isn't there, but he's believed to be listed as co-conspirator one. Wilson Young is a former federal prosecutor.
It is interesting that this letter came out, more than a year ago now, and some of its allegations seem to have been proven sufficiently correct so that the feds are willing to take action on some of them.
Lawyers for Andy DeWong emailed me that he vigorously denies the baseless allegations in this letter. David DeWong's lawyers say he strongly denies them. They both argue that Juarez has credibility issues and cannot be believed.
Because they don't have credibility issues, right? This whole thing's incredible.
Dan Newman, spokesperson for Bonta's re-election campaign, confirms the Attorney General received the letter and forwarded it to the FBI. Juarez also wrote, Bonta should know that Andy DeWong in particular has a recording of you in a compromising situation, and that he routinely engages in entertaining elected and other officials to extract recordings without their knowledge for later use in blackmail circumstances.
And there it is. Like it's spot on. This seems to be like such a common practice. It's not just Epstein that did this, obviously. This seems to be a common extortion tactic to get politicians to do your bidding. And it makes you wonder, all the other politicians that seem to be doing things that are counter to what the people they're supposed to represent would want, and counter to, like America First stuff, California First stuff. It's the exact opposite of what you'd expect them to do. It's like, why would they just completely backtrack on their campaign promises and do things that don't seem to benefit anybody but the criminals? Well, there you go. It's blackmail. It's blackmail. They're all freaking pedophiles and they're all freaking sick bastards. I don't know how else to put it. They're all corrupt. All of them.
A recording of him in a compromising situation, although it's uncertain what that means, it's also uncertain whether that's true. So there's a lot of questions that this letter prompts.
The spokesman for Rob Bonta tells me the Attorney General is not concerned about that report of a compromising video and says Mario Juarez wrote that letter as a desperate guy at a desperate moment with walls closing in.
Okay, the walls are closing in, guys. All right, that's interesting. What the heck? Okay, cool. All right, so East Bay Insider, Steve Tavares, you can follow him over on Twitter. He wrote a pretty extensive article about this whole situation. So let's get into it. So this is from East Bay Insider, authored by Steve Tavares, and he says, exclusive letter warned Attorney General Rob Bonta of compromising video linked to indicted East Bay family. A bombshell letter from the FBI's key informant alleged that Andy DeWong possessed a covert video of attorney Rob Bonta and was alleged to have blackmailed other East Bay elected officials. Who are those officials? The key informant in the FBI's East Bay public corruption probe sent a letter to California Attorney California Attorney General Rob Bonta in May of 2024, warning him that Andy DeWong, one of the indicted owners of Evolutionary Homes, charged with conspiring to commit bribery, possessed surveillance footage of Bonta in a compromising situation. I wonder what that means. The letter reveals that Bonta was aware of the scope of the FBI's investigation for some time, and the revelation could help explain why Bonta's re-election campaign spent nearly $500,000 on legal fees related to the DeWong case, as reported by KCRA. Bonta is also rumored to be eyeing a run for California governor last year. Bonta quashed speculation about the run to replace Governor Gavin Newsom, saying he intended to remain focused on his duties as Attorney General. Okay. I hold you in high regard for your commitment to justice and integrity, which is why I feel compelled to bring this issue to your attention, wrote Mario Juarez, the founder of Evolutionary Homes. That's the guy that got beat up by the DeWongs. Well, by the guys that the DeWongs hired. God, this whole thing is so sketchy. Of Evolutionary Homes and an individual widely believed to be a co-conspirator number one in the January indictment of former Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao, her partner Andre Jones, and David and Andy DeWong. It has also it is also important to know that Andy Duong in particular has a recording of you in a compromising situation and that he routinely engages in entertaining elected and other officials to extract recordings without their knowledge for later use in blackmail circumstances, Juarez wrote. He added that a release of such recordings could cause public embarrassment at the least or expose illicit activities, including the use of drugs. It is unclear whether Juarez was alleging misconduct by Bonta himself or by others. There is no evidence as of yet that blackmail is part of the FBI's case. However, East Bay political circles have long traded rumors about Andy Duong allegedly capturing public officials in embarrassing situations. His own Instagram posts have shown him encouraging people into awkward scenarios, including one widely viewed video at Evolutionary Homes in the Oakland showroom. On May 9th of 2024, letter reads like an outline from the corruption case that would unfold over the next 7 months. Its timing suggests it may have been the spark that preceded the June 20th FBI raid on the homes of the Taos and the Duongs. Dan Newman, the spokesperson for Bonta's re-election campaign, said that the Attorney General received a letter and it was immediately shared with law enforcement and they provided appropriate follow-up. An FBI spokesperson declined to comment, citing an ongoing investigation. Juarez also leveled broader allegations in the letter, accusing the Duong family of money laundering, illicit political donations, falsification of contracts, and exploitation of straw donors, and even facilitating prostitution for elected officials, including minors. So the whole money laundering thing, I talk about it all the time, the whole circular money laundering operation where California government uses taxpayer dollars to fund something like some sort of project regarding the homeless, like building homes or a sanitation project, because of their green energy initiative. Now they want us to recycle more. So they give no bid contracts to these companies that are supposed to facilitate these services. They take in these no bid contracts that they charge way more for that they need to. Then they scrape some money off the top, put it in their own pockets, scrape some money off the top, put it back into politicians' pockets or back into their campaigns. It's a circular money laundering operation like everything else going on in the California government. Okay, he described Jones receiving large payments for fictitious work, totaling $80,000 during Tao's 2022 mayoral run. Jones' federal indictment later alleged he received $95,000 from the Duongs for a no-show job. There it is, just, yeah, I'm going to charge you this amount for either nothing or it's going to be twice as much as the job actually costs. Juarez, a longtime Democrat insider, has long-standing ties to Rob and Mia Bonta, frequently hosting their fundraisers at his Oakland office. What a quinky-dink. The Bontas also had a well-documented relationship with the Duongs. Rob Bonta received $155,000 in campaign contributions from the family before refunding the donations after the June 2024 raids. Andy Duong so he refunded the donations, but he's spending $500,000 of his own campaign money to defend them. That's funny. I wonder which looks worse, the campaign donations or using campaign donations to defend them. Oh, God, this thing is so filthy. These people are freaking rotten to the core. Andy Duong often showcased his ties to the Bontas on social media, posting numerous photos with the Sacramento power couple over the years. There they are. Rob and Mia Bonta, the power couple. 6 days before sending the letter on May 3rd, 2024, Juarez said he was assaulted outside the offices of the California Waste Solutions, the Duong's family's recycling business. So they got the Waste Solutions thing where they got no bid contracts from Shang Tao, and then they've got the building tiny homes out of storage containers business. So two different businesses that are both receiving like no bid state contracts. You guys following? I wonder if they set up those businesses before the California government decided that, hey, we're going to put a bunch of money into these types of businesses. I'll continue. Juarez alleged that he was then forced to record a video to apologize to David Duong, allegedly filmed by Andy and his sister Christina Duong. And it is evident that they intended to exploit this coerced apology to further their agenda, he wrote. All right. Juarez told Bonta he feared for his life. I do feel at this point that I am subject to possible murder attempts, and this was told to me by Andy DeWong, he wrote. On June 9th, 2024, Juarez exchanged gunfire with individuals outside of his Oakland home. He was uninjured, though his Chevy Suburban was riddled with bullets. I wonder if he was using a California-compliant firearm with 10-round magazines, 10 rounds or less. I wonder if he had his concealed carry permit. Prosecutors later charged Hermelindo Ramos with firing at the inhabited dwelling and in an occupied vehicle. Ramos told ABC7 that he acted in self-defense. 11 days after the shooting, FBI agents raided the home of Tao and the Duongs, a dramatic escalation that aligned closely with the warnings in Juarez's letter. Incredible. It is so incredible. Pete Grabber, nice to see you. 49ers native started with the Tubbs fire. One of my best friend's mom taught Gavin's kids here in SF. The school had mandatory vaccines, but Gavin demanded his children not be vaccinated. Oh, wow. I don't know why the media isn't attacking him on that. Someone that needs to at least ask him. If you have any sort of proof of that, I would love for you to get it to me. That would be incredible. Do I follow you, 49er native? If I don't, let me shit. You know what? Let me go to the stream. Make sure I follow you now. So if you could DM me something, that'd be awesome. Let's see. You know, I'm going to search for your account right now before I continue. So. Sorry, folks. Important things. Okay. 49er native. All right, I just followed you, so you can DM. If you have anything about Gavin not allowing his kids to take the vaccine, I would love that info. If you could DM it to me, that'd be awesome. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, so, all right, what do we got next? Continuing with the Rob Bonta situation. So I got another article I want to read because this is I'm probably going to be repeating some of the same information, but I think it's important to read both these articles. This is from The Current Report. This is authored by C.C. Woods, November 20th, 2025, so just a few days ago. The Bontas, California's first family of corruption, a marble hall marriage of power, perk, and blatant self-dealing. Okay, so this is going to be a good one here. Okay, thanks 49er Dave, appreciate it. Catch up with the chat really quick, make sure we're good. Central Valley, nice to see you. All right, we'll keep going here. Sacramento's marble corridors have seen their share of power couples, but none embody California's one-party entitlement culture quite like Rob and Mia Bonta, the state's polished, progressive poster family whose political brand has quietly doubled as a two-person cash-handling operation. The story begins in 2021 when Gavin Newsom elevated Rob from a safe assembly seat into the Attorney General's office. And in true Sacramento dynastic tradition, the now vacant seat didn't go to the next qualified public servant, it went to his wife. A seamless handoff, a political heirloom, and the opening act of the years-long family enrichment scheme hiding in plain sight. The receipts, literal receipts from Mia Bonta's 2021 Special Election Committee should have denotated a statewide special ethics review. Instead, they landed with the dull thud of corruption so normalized it barely raises an eyebrow. I should mention that you guys know I ran for office. Well, I raised about 10 grand when I ran for state senate against John Laird. Raised about 10 grand. John Laird had close to $2 million to spend, 1.8 million. Well, the FPPC, I believe it is, decided to audit one of the candidates that were running in that election. Who do you think it is? You guessed it. It's me. They decided to audit me, not John Laird. And I called them and talked to them about it. And they explained to me, oh, no, it's done at random. It's done. They do a lottery. And, you just happen to be the lucky winner of the audit lottery. So now I have to send them all my receipts and expenses and all that kind of crap. It's fine. It's no big deal. But point is, they decided to audit the guy that raised 10 grand, not the guy that raised 1.8 million. So just say that, and you kind of got your corruption here. Why didn't they investigate Mia Bonta's campaign? Okay, the receipts, little receipt. Donor dollars subsidizing a family dinner labeled as staff appreciation. Donor dollars covering vague office expenses and travel attributed to Rob himself. California law explicitly bars campaigns from funds from personal use, including payments benefiting family members. The Bonta operation didn't just flirt with the line, they leapt over it and made themselves at home. So they got receipts of the contributions here. These are forms that you have to fill out with, I can't remember the name of the form, but you got to disclose all the money that came in, who donated it, how much they donated, the date, what they do for a living, all that stuff. And then every purchase that you make with campaign funds, whether it's signs, whether it is a hotel for travel, like I purchased a hotel with my campaign funds when I traveled down to the Libertarian Convention in Orange County. Totally fine to do, by the way. So all of those things have to be documented, and you have to put it under a certain category. So this is like this one says appetizers only, $379. Oh, good. So okay, we'll continue. They're including receipts here. Is all I'm saying. And it was just Bonta. It wasn't just Bonta household helping themselves. Mia's inner circle treated the campaign like a private petty cash buffet, with her campaign manager raking in more than $17,000, plus a steady stream of reimbursements for everything from flowers to food. Families sharing last names surfacing on the same payment dates. No competitive process, no transparency, just the familiar scent of Sacramento's favorite pastime, insider patronage. While Mia's committee burned donor money on stacks and friends, Rob kept the family pipeline humming. His old assembly committee funneled money into Mia's new operation. His new AG committee did the same. Transfers stacked one after another after the next. Technically legal under the California's deliberately toothless campaign finance framework, yet unmistakably brazen in intent. The political baton passed orchestrated behind closed doors while the public was told it was all above board. By 2025, Mia's operation had ballooned into a multi-million-dollar fundraising and spending machine. $1.84 million raised, $2.38 million spent, with nearly $400,000 cash on hand, and all in too familiar roster of consultants and insiders feeding at the trough. The family business model wasn't slowing down, it was scaling. The ground shifted. As federal investigations began tightening the net around the East Bay bribery scandal, the notorious Duong crime ring operated behind its recycling front. The Bonta name resurfaced again and again. Rob Bonta, the state's top law enforcement officer, suddenly dropped nearly $500,000 in campaign funds on Wilson Sonsini, one of Silicon Valley's most elite legal fortresses. Feds were asking questions. Rob was giving interviews, and his spokesperson, Dan Newman, spun two contradictory I got him confused with Dan Noyes. Dan Newman spun two contradictory explanations within days, first claiming the legal cost helped advance law enforcement, then admitting that they were for Rob's own protection during federal interviews because of the nature of the charges facing others. Okay, we'll keep going here. He insisted Rob Bonta wasn't a target, but no non-target drops close to $500,000 on big law cavalry paid out in 5 massive checks, 2 of which cleared days before Rob abandoned his long-teased gubernatorial run to hold onto the safety of the Attorney General's office. I think Rob Bonta was next in line to be California governor, and he would be leading the polls right now. And you wouldn't be getting a flood of Democrats running for office like Katie Porter and all sorts of shitty Democrats, Eric Swalwell. They would all be standing back because it's Rob Bonta's turn. Alani Cunnilingus, the lieutenant governor. Rob Bonta was next in line. I bet you Gavin said, dude, you got too many scandals going on right now. You can't run. That's just me speculating. Experts aren't fooled. Ethics scholars have called the legal bills historically large, a glaring signal that something far more serious was unfolding behind the scenes. FPPC, I always forget the acronym, That's who's auditing me, by the way. FPPC officials, bound by California's labyrinth of intentionally murky rules, can only repeat what everyone watching already knows. Campaign funds are supposed to be used for political activity, not personal lifelines. This is where the Duong scandal becomes impossible to ignore. The indicted recycling moguls accused of bribing Oakland's mayor with cushy no-show jobs weren't strangers to the Bontas. They were friends. Photographs show Rob and Mia courtside at Warriors games and Andy Duong smiling in limos, arm in arm at events. Duong referred to Rob as brother, celebrating his rise from city council to attorney general. When the feds raided the Duong empire in June of 2024, Rob hurriedly returned $155,000 in contributions, but only after federal agents kicked down doors. So again, he returned those funds, but he spent, so they contributed to his campaign. So the $155,000 went into his campaign. He returned that. Then he used that same campaign funding pot to defend them. $500,000 worth of it. Incredible. There's also the Mario Juarez entanglement, another close Bonta ally named as the co-conspirator in the FBI filings. Rob once secured Juarez a $3.4 million energy grant for a company that ran together. Shared offices, mutual endorsements, a long documented history of financially intertwined dealings that directly contradicted Rob's carefully curated image as an ethics-first attorney general. The pattern stretches back years. Rob steered 21 grand in campaign cash to a nonprofit where Mia was the CEO, drawing a six-figure salary. Then he behested $500,000 from Silicon Valley giants to the same organization, triggering rule changes at the FPPC because the arrangement was so obviously improper. Yet somehow the hammer never fell. Today, the family continues operating as if ethics are suggestions rather than rules. Mia chairs the budget subcommittee that oversees Rob's Department of Justice. She recuses herself, a hollow gesture when the entire structure is built on shared political and financial fortunes. They trade donor dollars like family assets. They leverage the state lax laws to fortify their own power. And when federal heat moves in, campaign contributions quietly foot the bill. Incredible. This is California's ruling class at its most unvarnished. The Bontas hosting Warriors nights with indicted donors, converting campaign committees into personal expense accounts, laundering influence through their insider networks, and ducking accountability under the protection of political supermajority too loyal or too complicit to intervene. Mia will keep talking about justice and equity. Rob will keep positioning himself as a legal warrior against Trump. But the truth is simpler. The Bonta family businesses run 24/7, and until voters or regulators decide they've had enough, California donors will continue picking up every tab from appetizers to attorney fees. What a great article. So that's why I wanted to read this. So like I've covered some of the same information multiple times, but I mean, this is just to kind of put the whole Rob Bonta little empire that he's got into perspective. It's all corrupt. This is just one of them. This is just Rob Bonta. You've got Gavin Newsom, you've got John Laird, the guy I ran against, you have Katie Porter, you've got Gail Pellerin. All of these people have their own similar little scams going on. They're just at different scales. All of it is so corrupt. Sheng Tao, Pamela Price, the DA out of Alameda County, Jessica Dean, like so many California state senators, assemblymen, chiefs of staff, these nonprofit organizations that are in bed with him, the unions, all of them are just throwing money at each other, putting it through shady things so they can put it right back into their pockets. It's all so fucking corrupt. It's incredible. Unbelievable. All right, let's keep going here. All right, if you guys are watching, like, share, subscribe, repost the stream, all that good stuff. Okay, let's keep going with the Rob Bonta stuff. Man, how long have I got? Oh, geez, I've already been going 37 minutes, and I've barely gotten 2 articles in. Incredible. Okay, let's keep going. So let's go to this is from News Nation. This is, I think this is where Chris Cuomo's at. Just watch this clip. They're talking about exactly what we've been talking about. Rob Bonta, corruption, all that good stuff.
Exclusive details on the investigation into the handling of the deadly Palisades Fire in California. News Nation investigative correspondent Rich McHugh obtained documents that may show that the state is, in fact, solely responsible for that fire.
Oh, my apologies, guys. I wasn't supposed to play this yet. That's on the next. That's the next block of stuff. Let me move that out of the way. Okay, cool. Yeah. So apologize. Talk about that in a minute. Continue with the Rob Bonta stuff. This is just a post from Mike Netter. He says, boom. This is from AB7 News. Corruption. California Attorney General Rob Bonta allegedly knew donor ran a prostitution ring supplying elected officials, including minors. Okay, we already talked about that. Yeah, so he got blackmailed. And so he knew. Rob Bonta apparently was aware that the Duongs were running a prostitution ring. So that's what's being alleged here. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go to these clips from Ashley Zavala. Let's see what Rob Bonta has to say himself. Tell me if you guys believe him. Ashley Zavala kind of holding his feet to the fire a little bit here. This is why Gavin Newsom and all of his cronies hate Ashley Zavala. I'm surprised Rob Bonta actually did an interview with her. So let's go here. His face says it all right here. Oh, I'm busted. Okay, let's watch this clip.
So just to be clear, were you a witness? Were you a victim? Were you a possible subject, a target? What exactly were you in this case, if you can say?
I was 1,000% not a target. I was a potential victim in their eyes. They thought I may be a victim. And I certainly, in the late understanding, a witness who provided information that may be helpful to their investigation of other people. So I was someone that they thought might have information that could assist with their investigation of other people. I was 1,000% not a target.
So you're cooperating with them in the investigation, but you're also using campaign funds to fund their defense? How interesting.
Okay, you told the LA Times that you were a victim at one point. Was that also the case?
Yeah, they thought I was potentially a victim. That was one of the first reasons that the federal government reached out to me, a victim of potential extortion or blackmail.
And so with that, you mentioned that you answered questions, you provided documents, but I mean, you spent nearly $500,000 of those campaign funds. Campaign finance records show that is a historic amount of money to spend. I mean, all that really cost that much?
Yes. The attorneys that I had were working around the clock to be responsive, to be efficient, to be comprehensive, to be completely forthcoming in all of our information that we were providing in an effort to assist and help the federal government. I will say I may have had an audible gasp, but when I saw the final.
Wait, hold on. Did he just say that the attorneys he hired to represent the Duongs were there to help the FBI in their investigation? Is that what he just claimed right now? I'm confused. Who were these attorneys representing? Am I mistaken on him using campaign funds to hire attorneys to help defend the Duongs? But he's saying that he hired them to help the FBI in their investigation, essentially? What am I missing here? Somebody explain this in the chat. Were the attorneys that he hired not defending the Duongs? This is incredible.
Legal bill. But these are attorneys that charge at not insignificant rates, and they were working many hours to make sure that we were providing all the information, all the documents, everything that the federal government sought in our effort to be helpful and to assist them.
How much did they charge? And I mean, when did, I guess maybe what could be helpful in understanding this amount of money is, when did they start this work for you?
It all happened pretty quickly in sort of the late summer and early fall of 2024. So it was all compressed. And the billable rates, you can just look at any private law firm's website and see that there's rates at $1,000 an hour, $2,000 an hour, $3,000 an hour.
Is that how much you were paying though?
These are very high rates.
Mr. Attorney General, is that how much you were paying? $1,000, $2,000, $3,000?
There were ranges because there were different attorneys, and it's based on experience and your role in the firm, and every attorney charges at a different rate, but they were in the thousands of dollars range. Yes.
And did you have a lot of documents to provide? Again, I'm just trying to make sense of this number here.
Well, in today's age and day and age of technology and information, multiple devices, multiple computers and laptops, there is a lot of places where information is stored, and every one of us has a very significant data footprint. And so we wanted to make sure we looked through everything, that we extracted data from every device in every place in every space, so that if we had a piece of the puzzle that could assist the federal government in their investigation of other people, then they would have it. And we didn't know, what their investigation entailed in all of its nuances. They knew. Our job was just to provide as much information as we could to them, so that they could, if anything was helpful, then they could use it in their investigation. But the large amount of data, the challenges of extracting data, getting it in a way that can be presented, reviewing it to make sure no one's private information is improperly disclosed, and making sure that everything is transparent and forthcoming and handed over.
Okay, I'm not getting this. I'm not understanding. There must be something that I'm missing. He spent $500,000 of his own campaign funds, which I thought was in defense of the people that the Duongs that were indicted by the FBI. But he's claiming that he spent this money to help the FBI in their investigation, essentially. Like, well, the FBI's got their own investigators. They're going to come up with whatever. Why would you need to comb through all of these different devices to make sure no stone is unturned to get that information and help the FBI in their investigation of your friends? These guys were your friends, Rob Bonta. What is really going on here? Like, I was under the impression that the money spent was to defend those guys. And he's claiming that it wasn't. He's claiming he spent $500,000 of his own campaign funds to help the FBI. Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying this, Rob Bonta.
That took time. That took hours. And we wanted to do it quickly in our effort to assist and help the federal government.
Okay, that doesn't make much sense to me, but let's keep going here because there's more. There is more, folks. This is a little more from the interview. I encourage you guys to watch this whole interview because it is pretty incredible. Ashley Zawal is sitting there the whole time with this look on her face. This one right here. That's pretty much the look she had on her face the entire time. Like, what? What are you saying? Nothing you're saying makes sense, Rob Bonta. I don't believe you. That's what this look says. Okay, let's keep going. Here's another clip from the same interview.
East Bay Insider's newsletter reported that one of the informants in that Oakland federal bribery investigation sent you a letter saying the Dongs had surveillance video of you in a compromising situation. Is that true?
That is not true. There is no video, and that is false.
We made sure, because we killed the person that took the video, and we made sure that video is deleted. I'm just kidding. I have no evidence of that. That was just a joke. Don't sue me for $5 million. Keep going.
In the letter, you were also asked to investigate the Dongs in your capacity as the state's top law enforcement official. Why didn't you, or did you? And what was your reaction to seeing that?
Well, the letter read like a person in a mental health crisis. And as it turns out, it was a desperate person in a desperate moment doing desperate things. You can see it for yourself if you read the letter. And so it was hard to give the letter much credibility. But what I will never gamble with is somebody saying that they are at risk of harm or that their life is at risk. I could not take a chance with that. And there were other, what if true, would be potential crimes that were set forth in that letter that the individual who wrote the letter was accusing others of doing. So it was important for me to get that letter over to our local law enforcement partners immediately, who were best located to respond to any imminent threat, any imminent harm, to protect life, to protect health, and get involved. So we worked with our law enforcement partners immediately to help address any potential threat of someone being hurt.
So,
okay, I don't believe you, Rob Bonta, and I want to see you in prison. I would be shocked if the FBI wasn't investigating him thoroughly right now. Actually, yeah, I would, because nobody trusts the FBI, and he's probably, I'm sure he's got contacts at the FBI, and he's trying to cover this up on the back end. But Rob Bonta's hands are so dirty in this. So is Mia Bonta's hands. The dominoes are falling. Like, Trump does not like California. And I would not be surprised if he is directing the FBI to actually go after corrupt California politicians, because he can do that, right? He's not going to be he's going to be allowed to do that by the people who contributed greatly to his campaign, the people that were pushing him so hard to not release the Epstein files. You guys see what I'm saying here? The people that seem to be the ones determining what Trump is allowed to do and what he's not allowed to do, and what the FBI is allowed to do and what the FBI is not allowed to do. I think you guys catch my drift. So I would be shocked if Rob Bonta, Rob Bonta should be indicted. There's got to be massive amounts of evidence to show malfeasance on his behalf. Okay, that's enough about Rob Bonta, that corrupt piece of shit attorney general that is supposed to be the highest law enforcement official in California. I hope Harmeet Dillon's going after him. That's what I would love to see. I don't trust Pam Bondi, but I trust Harmeet Dillon a little bit. Harmeet Dillon is a bulldog, and I really hope that they have turned her loose on the California government, because she does have a bit of a bone to pick with them. So I would love to see Harmeet Dillon go after Rob Bonta big time. All right, let's talk about some more corruption, shall we? Because the Palisades Fire is looking more and more like a massive cover-up. Like, at the very least, incompetence was to blame for these fires. Incompetence on the California state level. And at the worst, they were deliberately allowed to reignite. So on January 1st of 2025, there was a fire. I can't remember the name of it. It was called something, the Lockman Fire. That's what it was called. The Lockman Fire started in the Pacific Palisades, and it was extinguished, but it wasn't really allowed to be fully extinguished. And firefighters were like, hey, it's still smoldering. There's still roots under the ground burning. So, that's what happens. You get trees that could become completely engulfed. If there's any hole in the tree, the fire goes down into the tree and then into the root system. It's crazy how these fires just keep going the CZU fires out here in the Santa Cruz Mountains back in August of 2020, those fires burned for well over a year. I think some spots, you get what's called a burning heart inside a redwood tree. Like, if a redwood has a hole inside like the middle of it and then a hole at the top, it just acts like a chimney. It basically becomes a rocket stove, and it'll just keep going. There's no way to put that thing out. So those fires burn forever. Anyway, this Lockman Fire wasn't fully put out. California State Parks representative apparently went out to check out the fire, went on scene, and the California government denied it. They said, no, there's no state representative. There's no state park representative there. And firefighters have released text messages like Los Angeles. I don't know if it was from the LA Fire Department or if it was from Cal Fire guys, but they were basically told to stand down. They're basically told to leave. And then 6 days later, it erupts into the Palisades Fire when Mary Karen Bass was over in Chad or wherever she was. And we were expecting those Santa Ana crazy winds that happen every freaking year. And the fire raged out of control, and the reservoir was empty. And I learned recently that I didn't even know this. We've spent, I'm pretty sure, billions of dollars on the Cal Fire Air Force, essentially, the firefighting airplane and helicopter infrastructure that we have. Well, what I didn't realize is, did you guys know that we don't have any super scoopers? Those airplanes that fly down and touch the water of the ocean and scoop up water. Remember those 2 Canadian planes that came in, which were impressive as hell? One got struck by a drone, by the way, but we don't have any. California doesn't have any of those. And you know why? Because like the C-130s or whatever planes that we have, the big giant planes that we have that are designed to drop tons of stuff on the fires, it's not designed to drop water. It's designed to drop this fire retardant that they call red sludge or something like that. It's a fire retardant material. And it takes a lot longer to refill the plane because it's only designed to work with that type of material. We don't have any super scoopers. We don't use water to put out fires here, even though we kind of got a lot of it. I mean, during a clear day, you can look right out that window and see a whole bunch of it. It's the ocean right there. California's got a big giant ocean right there. And the Palisades fires were right next to the ocean. That's why we brought in the super scoopers from Canada. But we don't have any for some freaking reason. But we passed a law, or there's some sort of backroom deal going on. I looked into it. I couldn't find any corruption, any connections with the company that makes this red sludge bullshit, like contributing back to Gavin Newsom's campaign fund. I couldn't find anything about that. But we exclusively use that red fire retardant crap, and it stinks. It smells. It's horrible. They dump it all over state parks, and I was smelling that shit for 2 years after the fires. Like when you go running Big Basin after a rain, you'll still smell that shit in certain spots where the fire was really bad. Anyway, lots of shenanigans going on with this Palisades fire. And the more and more that I look into it and the more time that goes on, it seems like these fires were allowed to happen by the California government, fire department, Karen Bass. It's looking shady, folks. It's looking extremely shady. Let's go to this clip from the Steve Hilton show.
Well, the latest is coming from Spencer Pratt, who has done outstanding reporting on this, and you can find him on X. He is reporting that firefighters are telling him that the reason that the city firefighters did not fully extinguish the January 1st fire, which is now blamed for reigniting and causing the January 6th and 7th fire, is because of pressure not to damage endangered plants. And that might sound crazy, but a few years back, I think it was 2019, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power was fined $2 million by the Coastal Commission. Why? Because they were doing a perfectly rational project in Topanga State Park where they were replacing power poles that were wooden and had been there since the 1930s or 40s or 50s.
The California Coastal Commission is another super corrupt California institution. Super corrupt, like the Sierra Club. We'll keep going.
Time for them to go. Replaced with steel poles. They also wanted to widen a road for fire access, and they wanted to replace the wires with something more wind and fire resistant. So an amateur botanist is walking through Topanga State Park, sees this work going on, and complains that they're damaging an endangered plant called the milk vetch, Bronton's milk vetch. And because of Bronton's milk vetch, they had to stop the work, they had to replant the plants, and they were fined $2 million. And this is the same city that made the decision not to fully extinguish the Lockman fire in the same state park. And the reason the work was being done by LADWP in the canyon was to protect the Palisades from fire risk. Because in the 1960s, there was a very severe fire in the same area. And that's why there was a reservoir constructed. And that's why everyone had this institutional memory that you have to have fire protection so that that doesn't happen again. And look what happened. Now they're protecting the milk vetch plant and not the homes.
Incredible. Incredible. Like, I don't think that's corruption there. That's just absolute psychopaths that think they're protecting this tiny little plant. Where, like, does fire not hurt this plant? I'm confused. Okay, let's keep going. I got another clip about this. So this is from News Nation. This is what I meant to play earlier. Go to this one here. So it strongly looks like these fires were allowed to happen.
Exclusive details on the investigation into the handling of the deadly Palisades Fire in California. News Nation investigative correspondent Rich McHugh obtained documents that may show that the state is in fact solely responsible for that fire and possibly for the deaths of the 12 people who died. Last week, our exclusive reporting found that a state representative was present near the burn scar, which had all the embers deep underground of a fire that had not been completely turned out. Well, it eventually turned into the Palisades Fire. And apparently, according to our reporting, a state representative was on the scene ordering firefighters around, telling them where they could and could not go. Well, tonight, we not only have confirmation that a state representative was there, but we now know exactly when they arrived and why. News Nation's Rich McHugh joins us now with this exclusive. Rich, tell us what more you've managed to uncover.
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, it's really shocking, and ultimately comes down to two really big questions. Number one, did state mismanagement ultimately cause the Palisades Fire? And did they lie about it in court, lie about all of it in court? And these new documents that we've obtained suggest that that's absolutely what happened. Now, this all began in the early morning hours of January 1 when an alleged arsonist started the Lockman Fire. And we know underground embers reignited 6 days later, starting a second, more devastating fire. That was the Palisades Fire. In response to a lawsuit from over 3,000 Palisades residents alleging the state failed to monitor embers from that initial fire, Governor Newsom's office told News Nation, the state didn't start this fire, that was an arsonist, and the state wasn't responsible for responding to or monitoring this fire. Now, in new court filings, the state goes further and says the Palisades victims cannot allege the state had notice of the Lockman Fire because it never had notice. State records show a call at 12:27 a.m. on January 1, but with the rest of the incident report redacted, completely blacked out basically, including their response to that call. But a Los Angeles Fire Department record tells us all the details.
And the LAFD's records show not only did the LAFD notify the state just after midnight, the state sent a park representative at 1:46 in the morning on January 1, and that state park representative arrived on scene at 4 a.m. on January 1.
Now that Los Angeles Fire Department incident report shows what the state will not, that the Los Angeles Fire Department contacted the state after midnight on January 1, and a state park rep arrived on scene by 4 a.m.
So this is a cover-up. They denied that they were ever even contacted. They denied that a state park representative was sent out. And then the evidence that the state released was all redacted. But they didn't realize that, the Los Angeles Fire Department has a record of these interactions and a record of the state park person being there. So this is a cover-up. This is a cover-up at the state level, directly to Gavin Newsom's office.
If the state had no responsibility for this land, why are they sending a state park rep? The state is playing.
Remember, Gavin tried to blame this on Trump. Remember, he was trying to say, this is federal land. It's not state park land. It's federal land. Trump did it. Trump started the Palisades fires. Remember that?
And hide the ball. They're not being transparent with the public. Tell us that you sent a state park rep. Tell us what that state park rep did. Tell us on the next day, January 2, that you sent another state park rep who directed firefighters and said they couldn't bulldoze.
All of these specific questions, Elizabeth, we have asked to Governor Newsom's office and the California State Parks, and they've declined to answer all of them. Back to you.
Wow, how surprising that nobody's talking. Nobody's saying nothing. There's nothing to see here, folks. So this is from Man-Made Cinema. He says, here's a video of a state park employee walking the Lockman fire line with firefighters on January 1st, 6 days before it became the Palisades Fire. And they want you to believe they had nothing to do with it. Gavin Newsom can't redact this. Watch to the end. So let's watch this clip here. It's just, this is just it looks like this is the empty reservoir in the background here. Let me go full screen so you guys can see this. You guys see back here? Up like right above my screen here where my cursor is, yeah, that looks like the empty reservoir that was meant to fight fires. So this video is just from a private resident that just decided to go up and look at the Lockman fire before it became the Palisades fire. All these houses are gone now. And you can see the California State Park worker in the video at the very end.
Okay, New Year's Day 2025. And this is the fire that ripped through the mountains right behind our house last night. There's our house right down there. And check this out. We're right on the hiking trail above our house. Fire line came right up to here. Check all that out. All that's burnt right down to that little bush right there. Still a bunch of firemen and crews working right there. You can still see smoke. Everything smells like burnt wood.
And so this person right here, you got the firefighters, you got 4 firefighters, and then you got a 5th person here. It's hard to see, but you can see the California bear on the back of this person's jacket here. That appears to be the state representative on scene at the Lockman fire.
Pretty crazy. A little too close for comfort.
This poor guy. I wonder if he lost his home. So here's just a picture from that video. So here's the person. Same video we were just watching. Here's a still shot. This is the California State Park representative, the one that's not talking because he's probably being told to shut his damn mouth by Gavin Newsom's office. So yeah, at the very least, this seems like severe incompetence that allowed the Lockman fire to reignite and become the Palisades fire. At the worst, this seems like a massive cover-up, or they actually allowed it to reignite on purpose. I'm not saying that's what happened, but look at the benefits to the California government that are going to come from all of these houses burning down. A lot of them won't be rebuilt. They can rezone, possibly build some high-rise buildings there. New money laundering operation opportunities. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, folks. I'm not alleging anything, but it sure seemed to work out well for the California government and not so well for the owners of the homes in the Pacific Palisades. All right, let's keep going. Let's go over to Eric Swalwell. You guys, your favorite congressman, Eric Swalwell. Fang Eric Swalwell, the Chinese spy mistress, Eric Swalwell. Well, apparently he's running for California governor, and he went on, of course, the Jimmy Kimmel Show to announce it. Aren't you guys shocked that he went on the Jimmy Kimmel Show to talk about it? Let's listen to Eric Swalwell talk about his bid for the California governor.
I love California. It's the greatest.
Except I don't live here. I love it so much that I don't live here.
Country in the world. Greatest country in the world. But that's why it pisses me off to see Californians running through the fields where they work from ICE agents or troops in our streets.
It's horrifying.
It's horrifying.
It's absolutely
or cancer research
horrifying.
Being canceled.
Eric, those aren't Californians. Those aren't Californians that are running from ICE agents. They're here, but they're not Californians. So I'm not sure where you're confused, but the people running from ICE agents are not Californians. So who do you intend to represent if you get into office? Is it Californians, or is it the people that came here illegally and California set up a sanctuary state social safety net for the non-Californians that are here? I see where your priorities are.
It's awful to look at. And our state, this great state, needs a fighter and a protector, someone who will bring prices down, lift wages up. And we can say that we're the 4th largest economy in the world, and we are, and I love to brag about that. But what does that mean if you can't afford to live here? So I've been in these fights as a city council member up in Dublin, my hometown, as a prosecutor in Oakland, and taking on the most corrupt president ever in the US Congress.
So it seems that he's implying that California housing prices and gas prices and food prices and everything else in California that's off the charts expensive is the fault of Donald Trump and not overregulation in the housing market. It's not extra taxes on top of the per gallon price that would be if it was just up to the oil companies. It's not that it takes gas to get these items to the grocery store. It's not the overregulation of the trucking industry. It's none of that. It's Trump's fault. It's not California's fault. It's Trump's fault. This is the exact same set of talking points that Gavin Newsom uses. He's going to be the exact same as Gavin Newsom, just not as slick.
But I'm ready to bring this fight home. So I came here tonight, Jimmy, to tell you and your audience that I'm running to be the next governor of California. I'm excited to do it.
Yeah. You know what?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Now,
and just like good little NPCs, the Jimmy Kimmel audience applause when they see the applause sign come on, and they stand up and give Eric Swalwell a standing ovation so California can get the exact same shit that they've been getting for decades. Expensive housing, expensive gas prices, expensive food prices, expensive energy prices, expensive everything, and continued money laundering operations. Same shit you're going to get with Eric Swalwell. I don't think he has a chance, personally. I actually think that Katie Porter has a better chance than him, but we'll see what happens. So let's listen to Eric Swalwell a little more. Let's get another clip here.
I've been educated in many ways today on what has to happen next in this community. It's expectations around enforcement and new laws to stop predatory actions that are being taken and committed against the people here. And as a former prosecutor, I am up for holding accountable anybody who would prey on people at a time like this. It also means making sure that the policies that people had are paid out, recognizing that people who have been given money for rent, that many of those policies are going to lapse, or the funding is going to lapse, and the need is still going to be there as they are displaced. It's overwhelming the number of charities who have come in, but as these charities collect resources and distribute resources to the people of Altadena.
No, they collect resources. They just don't ever seem to get distributed. It's weird how these charities end up working out in the end.
They're also giving paperwork and tax forms to the people of Altadena, and you just can't imagine how burdensome that is when you don't even know where you're going to sleep next week. And so I pledge to go back and work with the terrific representative here, Judy Chu, on what we can do to make sure there's no tax consequence, no paperwork, if you're just receiving funds to help you sleep in a home for the next couple weeks for your family. So there's a lot of heart in this community. And I want to be a governor that, mirrors that heart, but not just mirrors it and understands it, but takes a get shit done approach for the people here and not let bureaucracy or anything else get in the way. And that's the promise that I've made.
It's so funny how they hate Trump so much, but the way Trump speaks has completely influenced the way other politicians in California speak now that it's like perfectly okay to curse and do the meme wars kind of thing. It's just funny. They can't beat him, so they copy him. All right, this is from James Elliott here. Bostina, someone called Swalwell a lobotomized golden retriever, and I think that's the best description of him. I agree. That's a pretty good description. I love golden retrievers, though. I don't love Eric Swalwell. So this is from James Elliott. He says Eric Swalwell's career, 2001, 2002, unpaid intern for Rep. Ellen Toscher. 2003, he got a BA in government and politics. 2006, he got his law degree. 2006 through 2010, he worked as the assistant district attorney for Alameda County. 2010 through 2012, the Dublin City Council. 2012 through present, he was a congressman. So he's never worked a day in his life as just a regular private worker. Never. He got his law degree, greased some wheels, got into the Alameda County District Attorney's Office, became city councilman, and then he became a congressman. So who do you think he's going to represent You think it's going to be the working class, the middle class in California that is slowly being decimated? I doubt it. I doubt that's who he's going to represent. Keep going here. Got one more clip from Eric Swalwell. This is incredible. So this is what Eric Swalwell thinks about our campaigns, or I'm sorry, about our elections and how our elections should be run. How does he think he could make our elections more efficient and more secure? Let's listen to him.
I want us to be able to vote by phone. I think every Californian
Vote by phone.
Vote by phone.
Oh.
Yeah, if we can.
Well, that's there you go. What a swell idea. I'm sure that won't lead to any additional voter fraud that's going on in California. He wants us to vote by phone. Sorry, my dog wants attention.
Do our taxes, do our, make our healthcare appointments, make essentially do your banking online. You should be able to vote by phone. Make it safe, make it secure, but it's actually already happening all over the United States. I want us to be a blue state that doesn't do just a little bit better than like Georgia or Alabama when it comes to like voting access. I want us to max out democracy. Also, as it relates to democracy, if you wait in line for 30 minutes or more, if you do want to vote in person, I think you should fine every county for every minute that a person has to wait longer. We have to be better, not just a little bit better than the other states. The DMV. I don't think Californians should have to go in person to the DMV anymore. I think we can do that.
For the most part, we don't. Like, you really don't, unless you're like renewing your driver's license. Everything else with the DMV, I do it through AAA. So for the most part, you don't, Eric.
Virtually, I think you can have the DMV employees do it virtually, but that's a lot of real estate.
Is that the most popular position?
Digitize the DMV. Digitize the DMV.
Today, yeah.
We can modernize the state, and I look forward to bringing these ideas to Californians. I want to.
So this is what he wants to address. He doesn't want to address the insane housing costs, the deteriorating middle class, gas taxes, or any of the really important things to Californians. He wants to digitize the DMV and do voting by phone. Incredible. Man, groundbreaking stuff, Eric Swalwell. So this just popped up on my feed. This is from Gays Against Groomers. So this is Eric Swalwell's buddy here. This is NH's first I don't know what NH's is. This is New Hampshire? I don't know. NH's first trans representative pleads guilty to child prawn and exploiting charges. There he is. This is Eric Swalwell. Doesn't look like a fine, upstanding individual there. All right, let's keep going here. Sounds like his Sally Vella. Nice to see you. Thanks for watching over on YouTube. Sounds like he's the architect of those Nigerian scams. Could be. Indeed, could be. Okay, let's keep going. I got a few more stories that I want to get into. I'm probably going to do a bit of a shorter show tonight. But let's go over to Amy Reichert. She says, Gavin Newsom's attorneys outrageously argued in court this week that the state has a compelling interest in secretly transitioning kindergartners without notifying or getting consent from parents. The judge clapped back and said, the message would be that, no, young one, you have a lot of growing up to do. Your frontal cortex has not yet developed. You should listen to your parents. What about that? So there's a little block on that. So this is from Bill Esai. I don't think I'm pronouncing his name right, but he's a California state representative, now U.S. attorney for the Central District of California versus pedo protectors. It's a quick clip from him. Let's watch this really quick here, because it's the same thing that we were just talking about.
I just got word that I'm being removed from my committees. Some of you will recall last week I brought a bill to remove sanctuary state protection for pedophiles in the state of California, and the Democrats here did not like that. So they cut off my microphone, and I just got word the Speaker of the State Assembly, who runs the place, is removed me from my committee. But you know what? That's okay. I wear this as a badge of honor. It means I'm doing the right thing. It means I'm looking out for the people of this state and for children who are being victimized by these illegal immigrants. So bring it on, more to come.
So he wanted to remove sanctuary state policies for illegal immigrants who have been convicted of being pedos. I want to remove all sanctuary state policies, But he just wanted just for that narrow group of people. No, they don't like that either. I'm sure Scott Wiener would have been very upset with him for doing that. So let's go over to this article here. This is from the San Diego Union Tribune. So court mulls San Diego County District's debate over whether schools should tell parents if kids may be transgender. Also at issue is how the state education department backtracked on guidance saying parents should not be notified. A San Diego federal judge debated with attorneys for hours during a hearing this week as he prepares to decide soon whether schools should be allowed to not tell parents about possible changes in their child's gender without the student's consent. Kids can't consent, just saying. The hearing Monday was the latest development in the federal lawsuit filed in 2023 by two Escondido middle school teachers who said their district's policy barring school staff from informing parents about possible gender changes violated their religious free exercise rights. We 100% support the LGBTQ students, but we don't do it by cutting out their family. It puts teachers in an impossible situation, said Elizabeth Mirabelli, one of the teachers after the hearing. The case has evolved beyond Escondido for focus more generally on the state's position on the issue. Since Escondido had modeled its policy on guidance from the state education department, the state has held that notifying parents or others about possible changes with the child's gender without the student's consent could compromise the student's safety and infringe on the student's privacy rights. Students' privacy rights from their parents? No, that's not how that works. The lawsuit names as defendants the state superintendent, Tony Thurmond, Attorney General Rob Bonta, oh, there you go, there he is again, and the member of the State Board of Education, in addition to the Escondido District's school board members and administrators. In addition to ruling the plaintiff's motion for summary judgment, Judge Roger Benitez is expected to decide whether to sanction the state defendants who the plaintiffs say misled the court on what they've been telling the district about parental disclosure. The state had previously argued the case is moot because earlier this year it withdrew its published guidelines telling schools not to tell parents or others about possible changes to a student's gender identity without the student's consent. That guidance was the basis for the plaintiff's case against the state. But the plaintiffs later revealed that the state's current training materials for educators included links to third-party websites that, like the state's withdrawn guidance, advised non-disclosure. Lawyers for the state defendants said they had mistakenly overlooked the third-party links when reviewing the training materials. Oh, it was an oopsies, calling it an honest error that didn't warrant sanctions. That was just a mistake. No, nothing to see here. Privacy versus parents. The case has grown in recent weeks. Last month, Benitez certified a case as a class action lawsuit to include parents and school staff who oppose their school's non-disclosure policies or have requested a religious exemption or opt out from them. The listed plaintiffs now include 6 additional anonymous teachers and parents. The plaintiffs said the plaintiffs said after the hearing that they expect Benitez to rule in favor on summary judgment, similar on how he had ruled 2 years ago in issuing a preliminary injunction. That may not be the end of it. Benitez hinted Monday that he thinks his ruling may be appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, the infamous Ninth Circuit. Benitez said he thinks that not telling parents about potential gender changes denies them the chance to seek care or treatment for their children. He said the gender incongruity could result in a lifetime of pain and suffering and possibly happiness for the child or the parents. And that if schools don't tell parents, parents can't get their child help or affirmation. Affirmation. I hate that term. What's really important is the fact that parents are being denied the ability to seek whether it's a medical, psychological, or social treatment for the children. If the children are perhaps showing the slightest indication that they have a gender incongruity issue, Benitez said. He also said the children's privacy rights do not trump the parents' right to care for them. So the state, with a straight face, is saying that a kindergartner who says that he or she wants to transition has a right to privacy that supersedes the parents' 14th Amendment long-standing right to care, custody, and control of their children, Benitez said. We're talking about kindergartners. This isn't like high school kids that are like, I'm trans now. No, this is kindergartners that are highly influenced by people that say, oh, you like pink? You like pink, little boy, today? You like pink? Maybe you're a girl. Let's put you in the closet and put you in a dress. Like that's what these psychopaths want to do. So incredible. Paul Jonah, attorney for the plaintiffs, asked Benitez to declare that parents have a substantive due process right to be informed if their child begins to identify as a different gender. Jonah also wants Benitez to bar schools from adopting policies requiring staff to keep such information from parents. So, like, we're only talking about teachers telling parents if their child is showing signs of this. Put aside these insane radical teachers that are trying to actually push this stuff on kids. So these two things in conjunction with each other can allow teachers to push transgenderism on children, and then the law forbids them from telling the parents about it. It'll be our little secret. It'll be our little secret, little kids. This is just creating a lane for perverts to take advantage of children, we'll just say. A compelling interest. The California Department of Education used to tell schools that the website that their parents and others must not be told about possible changes with their child's gender at school without the student's consent. Schools must consult with a transgender student to determine who or will be informed of the student's transgender status, if anyone, including the student's family, the Education Department former guidance stated. But the department backtracked on that position this year after the Escondido's teachers' lawsuit and after the passage of the related new state law. Remember, this is a law. This is a state law, you guys. Teachers can't tell the parents the sick crap that you're jamming down their throats in the classrooms. In January, the State Department replaced its old guidance with the guidance about AB 1955, a law passed last year that prohibits schools from requiring staff to disclose anything to parents about a student's sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression without the student's consent. The law does not bar schools from disclosing that information, but rather bars them from requiring its disclosure. Okay, so we're not saying you can't tell them, but we are saying you can tell the students it'll be our little secret. Even though the directive to prevent disclosure is now gone from the State Department's website, attorneys representing the state defendants argued Monday that changes to the student's gender status should be kept private unless the student consents. The attorneys noted that the appeals court have ruled that parents don't have a right to dictate school policies. Incredible. In a 2020 decision, for example, the Ninth Circuit ruled against parents who argued that letting a transgender boy use the boys' bathroom violated students' and parents' constitutional right. It said that parents' due process right to direct the care of their children does not include a fundamental right to direct the ways a public school educates their child, including its policies or curriculum. Policies on bathrooms? Okay. Defendants' attorneys also disagreed with the plaintiff's claim that not informing parents of changes to their child's gender would violate free exercise rights. Students who may be transgender should be allowed to come out to their parents on their own, and such news should come from a child, not the school, said Jennifer Bunshoft, an attorney with Bonta's office who is representing the state defendants. An attorney says that the state has an interest in preventing parents from, for instance, denying the use of students' requested pronouns at school because schools are supposed to be inclusive environments. If a parent's unilateral insistence that a teacher not recognize their child's name and pronouns is objectively shown to students in that environment, that sends a message in that environment that transgender students are wrong, that they are not to be respected, and that there is something the state has a compelling interest, and that is something the state has a compelling interest and indeed can stop parents, said Kevin Lee Quaid, an attorney from Bonta's office. So yeah, the parents don't have a right if their son starts saying, I think I'm a girl and I'm going to start wearing dresses. Parents don't have the right to say, no, you're actually a boy. You're a biological boy. And if you want to wear dresses, that's fine, but you're a biological boy. Parents don't have the right to say that, apparently, according to the state government. But Benitez interrupted them. The message should be that, no, young one, you have a lot of growing up. Your frontal cortex has not yet developed. You should listen to your parents. What about that? It's unclear when Benitez will issue a ruling on either motion. So I think we know which way Benitez is leaning here, but this whole thing's just insane. The whole freaking thing's just absolutely insane. Okay, all right, we'll keep going here. So I'm sure you guys heard that Trump put the kibosh on federal funding for the high-speed rail. Well, don't you worry, folks. Don't you worry. The California bullet train getting up to $20 billion in state funding amid Trump flight. This is from Forbes. So it's getting $20 billion of our tax dollars to continue the high-speed rail boondoggle. They call it a bullet train. It's not going to be very fast, if it ever runs at all, from my understanding. A single mile of track has still not been laid. It's only going to be between Merced and Bakersfield. You know, everybody wants to take a train ride from Merced to Bakersfield, a moderately fast train from Merced to Bakersfield. Yeah, more state funding is going towards that. I'm not going to read this article. I guess I will. It's not that long. Okay, yeah, I will read it. Fine. This is from Forbes. California's legislature is moving ahead with plans to provide as much as $20 billion in additional funding for the state's financially challenged high-speed rail system, which will help complete the initial Central Valley portion to start work connecting it to San Francisco and Los Angeles. The move comes as the state also sues the Trump administration for attempting to claw back $4 billion in federal funds. So this $20 billion is only going from the Central Valley portion, the Merced to Bakersfield portion. Wasn't the whole project just supposed to cost $30 billion from San Francisco to Bakersfield, or San Francisco to LA? I mean, wasn't the whole project supposed to cost $30 billion? They need $20 billion more on top of all the funding they've already got to complete the tiny section that nobody wants to ride in. State legislators are reauthorizing California's cap and trade program. Oh, the cap and trade program, which requires the biggest industrial emitters of greenhouse gases to buy pollution credits through 2045, with plans to direct $1 billion a year from the source to the rail project for the next 2 decades, a plan pushed by Governor Gavin Newsom. It's the biggest funding commitment, which requires the biggest industrial emitters of greenhouse gases. So they're making the oil companies pay for this, is what they're doing. I'm sure gas prices in California won't go up because of this, though, but they're making the oil companies pay for this. Okay. It's the biggest funding commitment in the project's history, which got underway after voters approved a $10 billion bond measure in 2008. Though the estimated cost to build the system has tripled since then to more than $100 billion, and construction timetables have lengthened dramatically, work on the first 171-mile phase is extensive and has accelerated in the last few years. Today's agreement has made a big, bold statement about California's future, one that will create jobs, cut pollution, and connect and transform communities across the state, CEO Ian Chaudhry said in a statement. This funding agreement resolves all identified funding gaps for the earlier operating segment of the Central Valley and opens the door for meaningful public-private engagement with the program. Money laundering. Chaudhry, a veteran of global infrastructure projects who took over the bullet train's leader last year, released a new business plan last month that intended to accelerate construction and find new revenue sources from the authority's vast land holdings to help hold down the total cost, including letting tech firms build one data center on its property, powering them with solar farms, and will also propel its trains. Other ideas include selling rights to telecom companies to lay fiber optic cable along the train's path and install cellular towers, advertising the station naming rights, electric vehicle charging services, and promoting real estate development projects along the route, especially in lower-priced Central Valley cities such as Fresno or Bakersfield. That's okay. All right. Okay. Prior to the new funding plan, the project had secured about $27 billion, the bulk of it provided by state sources. The figure includes $4 billion that Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy rescinded in July. Duffy justified the move by pointing out that not a single mile of track had been laid in the many years since the project was approved, failing to mention that the vast amount of bridges, tunnels, grade separations, and other prep work done so far that take much longer than laying steel rails, or the more than 15,000 workers it employs, California's legal fight to get those funds back, which hadn't been spent will take months, if not years, to resolve. You mentioned tunnels there. There's still 3 giant mountain ranges that will need to be bored through. 3 separate tunnel systems through 3 separate mountain ranges. That's going to be the bulk of the money right there, if it ever gets done at all. But they're trying to act like, oh, we've already built a ton of infrastructure. Remember, they're only referring to this tiny section between Merced and Bakersfield, which no one cares about. But they need something to show for all this money laundering that they've done. They need to say, look what we built. We built a semi-fast train from Merced to Bakersfield. That's what they're working so hard to accomplish here. Currently, the U.S. is globally laggard in high-speed rail, which is now commonplace across Europe, Japan, China, South Korea, and dozens of other countries where they don't have as much regulation as California. Billionaire Wes Edens hopes to begin operating Brightline West, a private bullet train between Las Vegas and suburban Los Angeles within a few years. That project also received $3 billion of federal funding from the Biden administration. We applaud Governor Newsom and legislative leaders for their commitment and determination to make high-speed rail a success. Ray LaHood, former Secretary of Transportation and co-chair of the U.S. High-Speed Rail, said in an emailed statement, the agreement represents the most important step forward to date for this transformational project. Okay, whatever. I can't stand you people. Freaking, you garbage human beings. All right, let's see here. Let's catch up with the chat here. Sally Vella, thanks for joining over on YouTube. Newsom was caught red-handed when he said he was on the phone with the president as we speak, and then instantly said, I am not on with the president. So, which is that's during the Palisades Fire when that mom came up to him and was like, who are you talking to? Why are you on the phone? BMG, I'm sorry, Bostina, OMG. Sally Vella, people are going to have to homeschool their own children to keep them normal. Yeah, 100%. My best friend pulled his kids out of school. And they're normal. Shocker, right? Yeah, they like baseball. They're 2 boys. They like baseball and hockey and like boys stuff, and they don't think they're girls. Bostina, Antifa works in the schools. They will only get worse. Yeah, it's not a shocker there. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, so this is from Eric Daugherty. Eric Daugherty. Just in, the Trump administration just banned Gavin Newsom from giving federal dollars to illegal aliens under a program governed by the FCC. He was hiding social security numbers so the feds couldn't check illegal status. Gavin is a disgrace. Unbelievable what he is doing. The new California law now prohibits the state from collecting social security numbers and from sharing relevant data with the federal government. So when they say, oh, illegal immigrants don't get SNAP benefits or all these other benefits, well, how do we know if they're hiding social security numbers? The FCC is stopping California's abuse today. We're revoking California's opt-out status and now requiring California to use a federal verification process to ensure that Lifeline benefits only go to lawful recipients. That's from Brendan Carr. All right, let's keep going here. All right, this is from Mike Netter. As of November 2025, the average price of, this is about gas prices. So it's interesting how gas prices across the nation are going down, but California's keep going up. Why is that? As of November of 2025, the average price of gas in California has generally increased by approximately 35 to 44 cents per gallon since January of 2025. The average price for regular gasoline in California was approximately $4.31 per gallon in January. Recent data from mid-November 2025 shows prices around $4.59 per gallon. However, the price of gas has decreased in the United States in 2025. U.S. Energy Information Administration, the EIA, projected lower average prices compared to 2024, and actually monthly data confirms a downward trend. The average dropping significantly year over year. Today's average price of gas in the U.S. is $3.09 per gallon. I would kill for $3.09 per gallon. You can blame these 2 guys below. We are paying $1.50 more per gallon than the rest of the country. If this makes you mad, please repost. Yep. Rob Bonta, Gavin Newsom, same culprits for all the other shenanigans that we have to use. So this is also from Mike Netter. You know when they say crime is down in California? Crime is down. You hear Gavin Newsom say it all the time. You hear Rob Bonta say it, Karen Bass, all sorts of other people say that crime is down. But our eyes seem to be telling us differently. We see people getting mugged in broad daylight, shot in broad daylight, cars getting broken into in broad daylight, all over the place. You didn't see that shit 20 years ago, but they tell us crime's going down. And when they say that, from what date? Are you talking about when crime was at its highest 5 years ago? It's gone down since then. There's lying. What do they say? There's liars, damn liars, and then there's statistics. Well, how would they be able to say crime is down if it wasn't down? Well, this is how. LAPD refuses to release crime map records, says data could lead to public panic. When law enforcement officers are tasked with overseeing technology, the outcomes can often result in significant expenses with minimal tangible results, except for multiple visits and potential consulting collaborations for future employment opportunities. The Los Angeles Police Department has a track record of effectively implementing technology under civilian leadership, characterized by their proficiency in introducing new technological advancements. However, the decision to assign law enforcement officers to technology management roles has led to instances of mismanagement and a notable lack of transparency, impacting both the LAPD and the general public. One notable example is the implementation of RMS records management systems, which has been plagued by excessive costs and unreliability. This approach of learning on the go when it comes to technology deployment has emerged as the LAPD's most significant setbacks in recent times. Even though the LAPD has maintained the records for more than 2 decades to improve inspection and accountability, the department now says that the public isn't allowed to see underlying data. The LAPD said it would be against the public interest to release the data, which is preliminary and has the potential to lead to misguided public policy discussions or unjustified public panic. The department has not replied to requests for comment since denying the public records request, and Mayor Karen Bass' office did not immediately respond to the request for comment. While other areas of LA County still regularly update crime data on the websites, the LAPD has stopped uploading information and is refusing to release the data. So if LA County, pretty big county in LA or in California, LA County, if they're not uploading the crime data, does that skew statistics? Does that make it look like crime is actually lower than it really is? Why would the public panic if you release this information? If there's nothing to see here, why would the public panic? I don't know. It's almost as if you're lying that crime is down. Almost seems that way. All right. I'm going to end the show on a sad note. And this legitimately makes me sad. If you guys aren't on X, there's an account on there called Better Soma. And it's this dude that runs a sandwich shop in San Francisco. And there's 2 homeless people that he's been helping for years. And they're both drug addicts, but they're both, the female is really sweet. The dude is really funny. He seems like he's actually a smart guy. He's always in really good spirits. And he's been sort of just documenting their life for the last few years. And it's one of the guys' name is Steven. And I'm sure some of you guys know this account, Better Soma. And the videos that he posts are just videos of him, feeding them, letting them get cleaned up, hanging out with them, talking with them like they're, just talking to them like normal human beings. And he treats them well. And they've both become friends to Better Soma over here. I won't use his real name because I don't want to put him on blast. Well, Steven died. Steven overdosed. And he is no longer with us. And Better Soma is not taking it well. If you guys know anything about San Francisco, they're doing everything they can to not fix the fentanyl epidemic, the addiction epidemic that we have going on in San Francisco. And the same in many other cities throughout California, throughout Oregon, throughout Washington. The whole West Coast is plagued by these policies. These policies that take taxpayer money to, people still don't believe it when I say it, but it's true. Taxpayer dollars to give homeless drug addicts needles to inject drugs into their veins, crack pipes to smoke the drugs, all the other paraphernalia you'd need, foil, the tubes to tie off your arm, spoons, little Bunsen burners, cookers. They will give them all these materials. And when they're handing them out, they never say like, hey, do you want help getting into some sort of outreach program? Do you want help getting clean? And they don't provide any of that. They provide them everything they can to keep them addicted. And at the same time, they allow these drug dealers to operate with impunity. They get arrested, they get cut loose by the judges without charges, and they're back out dealing on the streets the next day. They allow drug dealers to openly do these drugs right on the sidewalk. I say all the time, I used to go to San Francisco when I was a kid, and I smoked a lot of weed when I was a kid. And I would take the train up San Francisco, and I would go skateboarding and hang out with my buddies. And we would have to go hide to smoke weed in San Francisco, which, I mean, you're probably thinking, well, yeah, of course you'd hide from the cops. The cops are going to bust you. No, not today. Today, you can walk down the street smoking a joint. Nobody's going to bother you. Nobody's going to say shit to you in San Francisco. Worse than that, you can walk down the street, see somebody completely out of their mind on drugs, overdosing. Every day, you get an overdose death on the streets of San Francisco. They're doing everything they can to perpetuate this cycle. And then what they call it, they have the audacity to call it harm reduction. And it's sick. It's just freaking sick. And the documenting that Better Soma has been doing over here of these two lies is trying to humanize a lot of these homeless people. And I regularly speak out about the homeless situation, about the addiction situation in San Francisco. And it may come across sometimes that I don't have any empathy for these people. That's the furthest thing from the truth. When I was 10 years old, my uncle jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and committed suicide. And he was heavily addicted to drugs. And that was my first experience with death. So my first experience with death wasn't just that my uncle died, my uncle that my sister and I loved very much. It wasn't just that he was dead. It was that he killed himself. And 9 or 10-year-old me, like my brain couldn't compute. My first experience with death was my uncle killed himself. And my mind couldn't make that make sense. Like, wait a minute, people do that? People kill themselves by choice? Like, who would possibly want to end their own life? I love my life. Everybody loves their life. Why would they want to kill themselves? And that was how I was introduced to death as a kid. And it was because my uncle was strung out on drugs and out of his mind. So me being so outspoken and so passionate about ending, or at least trying to improve the homeless and drug addiction problem on the streets of California, it's not because I don't have empathy for these people. It's the exact opposite. It's because if we're going to solve this problem, we actually have to solve the problem and not just treat the symptoms. And what they call treating the symptoms is allowing them to do the drugs on the streets and giving them all the tools they need to do the drugs, and then providing a safe haven for the drug dealers to give them the drugs. It's this horrible, horrible, vicious cycle. And why is it allowed to happen? I would speculate that because there's too much money in it. There's too much money in it for the non-governmental organizations and the politicians that they take taxpayer dollars, dump them into these nonprofit organizations, and the money gets funneled back into their campaigns. And the CEOs of these NGOs, these non-governmental organizations that start these nonprofit companies, they pay themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars Well, if those programs are no longer needed because we fixed the homeless problem, what incentive do the CEOs of these companies actually have to solve the homeless problem? Zero. They have zero incentive. In fact, they have the opposite. Their incentive is to perpetuate the homeless and addiction crisis so they can keep making money off of it. The whole thing is sick. So I'll just play this quick clip. This is Stephen. And Stephen is no longer with us.
Yeah, check 1, 2. There he is. French bread in hand. Oh man, it's raining. I was gonna walk with you and go look at Lake Russ over there.
Yeah.
But,
I saw that, the huge puddle.
It's to the left over there. But yeah, the tractors. I mean, I don't know. I see a tent in the distance too. The rain, man. You know what, Steven? I got some questions.
What's up?
How you doing?
Okay.
Since you're lucid. Well, the one thing that we talked about the other day when I wanted to try to send you to rehab was that, I mean, number one, you wash your hands. Baruch Hashem. I mean, it's been so long. I finally got you to take a towel and wipe them down. Right? No, don't finish. Okay, so the drugs, depending on the drugs and the strain or what it's mixed with, it seems that it really impacts you and your personality and the way things happen to you. So you go for like a stretch overdosing. So maybe it's highly, maybe there's carfentanil in it, and then maybe it's less fentanyl and more opioid. I don't, or benzos or whatever the combination is, but right now you're fairly lucid and you haven't overdosed in a couple of weeks, I think, which is great news.
Right.
But I think it helps the brain to heal. I think we'll never, ever, they'll study eventually the impact on overdosing, dying, and being revived one day. They don't talk about that on people's brains. But let me ask you something, because people really don't get it. People think that you have some place to go. What are you going to do in the rain today? Tell us about your day.
I'm going to have to figure out, probably stay and do some cover and get some stuff done if I can for tomorrow.
What kind of stuff do you need to get done today?
Baby steps. So to get some work done, hopefully. I'm going to work with you. I have to get some good cash.
Well, you just picked up. You just picked up.
Yeah.
And you get incentivized for speaking the truth.
Right.
Are both of I can't believe what happened to our drains now. So I think what people really think is that you have some place to go or some respite where you could go and just get dry. Jessica got a tiny house.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm sure she doesn't have it anymore. She has to check in every 48 hours.
Yeah.
She wasn't inside. She hasn't been inside in days.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, so what's the plan? You're gonna have a couple bucks in your pocket.
Yeah. I'm trying to do the right thing.
What does that mean? What is the right thing? Tell me what the
save
right
the money
thing
if I can.
You're not going to save the money. What are you going to do today with the dough?
Probably spend it on drugs.
Okay, so now you're being honest. What drugs do you buy these days?
Oh, fentanyl.
Only fentanyl?
Crack, right? Yeah, of course.
Do you buy crack?
Yeah, of course. Right.
Like right now, okay, so you're going to have let's say $8 or $10 in your pocket. Listen, come this way. Come this way. Okay, so you're going to have $20 in your pocket. The question is, are you going to buy crack or fetty?
Oh.
You buy a little each.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go get it?
I don't know. Nowhere.
It's harder in the rain.
They're always at.
Everywhere.
Just kidding.
How hard is it to find?
It's not hard to find all. You can go anywhere.
If you weren't from here, would you come here to use drugs?
Yeah.
You're not from here and you came here to use drugs.
Yeah.
Wow. Anything else you want to share today?
No, hopefully I'll do the right thing.
What's the right thing? The right thing is the right thing would be for medical doctors to compassionately put you in a place to detox while assessing your mental capabilities, which are very high, but you're mentally disabled in a way that you're not form fit. And I think that's one thing that it's always been, this form fit. I met with this guy, Jeff Kaczynski, in 2016. He was the Department of Homelessness guy. I said, look, homelessness is a pretty broad term, and it doesn't make sense for 98% of the people in San Francisco. Of course, he got busted talking about homeless people in Waymo, but only made more money through the years. Wow. And a guy like me gets harassed, blackballed, and smeared for a decade plus. But here we are.
Oh, sure.
Here we are.
Things will work out. Come get food.
Adios, amigo.
You guys are.
So that's Stephen. That's Stephen and Better Soma. And Stephen is no longer with us. And Better Soma over here, he's been doxxed on the internet. The local San Francisco politicians demonize him as somehow preying on the homeless community when he gives them food, he interviews them, he tries to understand what goes through their mind and what are the problems that lead to this spiraling out of control situation that's been happening for decades. He's actually doing what he can as a private citizen to try and solve the problem. And he's demonized for it. He's called the worst possible names by the people that are actually the ones that are taking advantage of drug addicted homeless people, people that are grifting off of their misery. And again, Stephen is no longer with us. And this happens every day. Stephen's someone's son. And we're failing as a society. And there isn't enough effort being put forth to actually try to solve the problem. And in fact, it's the opposite. The only effort that's being put forth is trying to perpetuate the problem so people can make money off of it. And it's sick. It's demonic. And yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about that. So I'm sorry to end the show on a sad note, you guys, but there's a fentanyl genocide taking place on the streets of California, San Francisco, LA, Sacramento, plenty of other cities. And it's the weakest of society that are being targeted, essentially, by all of this. The people that claim to care about the homeless are the ones that are taking advantage of them and using their misery to make money. And then the ones who actually want to solve the problem are demonized. Everything's backwards, and I hate it. I hate it so much, and I don't know how to fix it. Yeah. That's it. That's what I got for tonight, you guys. Boss Tina, Sally Vela, 49er Native over on X, Danger. What else we got? Pete Grabber, Central Valley. Shit, I didn't even check in with the Rumble chat all night. Northside, Terry Wallace. Good to see you guys. Sorry, I always forget to check in with the Rumble chat now. I need to pull it up on screen because it doesn't show up in the main chat anymore. So yeah, thanks all you guys for hanging out. That's all I got for tonight. I probably will do a stream sometime during the week, but I have a gnarly commute every day this week. Maybe I'll do a Thanksgiving stream. Who knows? There's a lot of other stuff going on. I'm really going to try and stick to California politics because that's my wheelhouse. That's where, I mean, I guess you can call me a qualified person to be talking about this stuff. So, yeah, that's what I got. That's it. Before we get out of here, got to tell a joke from the greatest book ever written, The Truth About Chuck Norris. You guys know the rules. I open the book, my eyes go to a random joke, and I read it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Let's see what we got tonight. All right, here we go. Chuck Norris donates all proceeds from the Total Gym to his Children Without Beards organization. And on that note, stay CaliBased.